Hi, welcome to the Paranormal Peep Show on a very short notice broadcast, if you like, because we're going to be talking about this UFO files drop that's happened with the Department of War. Used to be the Department of Defence of the United States. President Trump, as you may have heard, has already ordered his departments to start to release as much information that they can maybe be allowed to release on the UFO UAP phenomena. So we had the first drop of information come through just over a week or more so ago. So Ben and Andy, Ben, welcome to the show. It's a still image we've got of you because your camera isn't working. We should explain that to viewers on YouTube at least. I think you should be updating your camera or computer or something soon.
Well, I'm just a little bit too sexy for the airwaves, I think. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, with it's my camera and my computer and Zoom don't like each other. I've tried all kinds of different things, changing the camera, changing the settings to see the work. But so apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen. And normal service will be resumed as soon as possible. I really this release, this UAP files release, is quite amazing because up until a few days before it happened, there was still some question marks over whether it ever would. Because there was all kinds of speculation after President Trump made his little truth message, where he, back in February, when he said he would do such a thing, and then there was a lot of speculation. Marcus Christopher Lee said he knew it would happen. He knew it would happen on July the 8th, which was Roswell Day. Then he'd backtracked back and said, no, that was a mistake. And there was all kinds of other theories that came about. And then suddenly it was mentioned, and suddenly it was actually Pete Hegseth, the Minister of War, or Secretary of War, whatever they call him, who said, yes, it's happening on Friday. The first tranche is the word they used. And then Trump actually copied this to his Truth Social. A tranche being just like it's a financial term. I don't know why he's using that, but it means like a segment of what's to come. So the first of series of segments came along. It's actually quite considerable. There's currently 158 files. There used to be more. There were actually 162 when they were first released, and everyone was a little bit worried about why there's now only 158. It's nothing sinister. A few were duplicated by mistake. That's apparently the only reason. But there's a huge amount of material here if you go to war.gov, that's quite an alarming sounding name. There are 16 pages it's very sort of old 1990 style website. There are 16 pages of these files, and I take my hats off to the various people who've actually gone through them all. There's a lot of them from the FBI, a lot of them from NASA. There's a huge amount. There's lots of astronaut testimonies and things like that. There's some diplomatic and military cables, including a very interesting one from Tajikistan and the US embassy there. And there's a series of videos which I'm pleased to say the war.gov has actually categorized separately, so you can see them separately, and they're very, very interesting indeed. I don't know how many of you've seen them, but there's one involving a wind farm, which I think is the best.
Yeah.
We distinctly see an object flying around the windmill, the turbines. The thing is, people were saying like you don't know what the range is, but then you see them it passes behind some of the turbines, which gives a range, and it's pretty clear it's actually interacting with those devices. Very interesting stuff indeed.
Yeah, I think this is going to absolutely exponentially explode the interest in all things kind of like paranormal. And I need to crowbar something in because something kind of went absolutely mental viral recently. So I've got a collection of videos of strange incidents and paranormal occurrences from people that I've met personally, because there's a lot out there that's already kind of like in the public domain that are quite well known. So there's that famous photo of kind of like the monk at the church with kind of like the skeleton face, like the usual kind of pics. Well, when I do my kind of tune-in events type things, I tend to talk to a lot of customers that come to our events and pub managers and things like that. And they've actually started sending me their footage of things that have gone on. And recently I uploaded, I think, about 10 videos and photos, including one that's a UFO, actually. So I'll get onto that in a bit. I actually use ChatGPT to kind of like create some hashtags to try and get some kind of like more views. And one of the videos, bizarrely, it's up to, in 2 days, it's up to something like 1.5 million views. And that was just on a pint glass kind of imploding a local pub recently. So what I'm thinking is there might have been an influencer or somebody in the paranormal field that might have clicked on that, and they kind of like their fan base might have jumped on board. But actually, the video shown wasn't actually one of the most exciting. There are some really quite interesting ones. If people want to go and see, if they want to follow, like, and subscribe to Tune In events on Facebook and Instagram, they can go into the media section and the photo section, and they can see these themselves. And there's some really interesting anomalies, and one of them actually crosses over between, is it ghostly spirit or is it alien? So there's one where it's basically it was a lady and she was photographing a cyclist. Well, I think it might have been actually a CCTV that she was filming it, and she kind of like put it up there. But there's a cyclist going along, and get this, there's a weird white light anomaly in the middle of the road, and then another one kind of set behind it that just looks, it doesn't even look ghostly spiritual. It looks a little bit, dare I say it, alien. And there's another friend of mine actually. Now she lives in East Sussex. She lives in Whitey. And she happened to have a mobile, and she looked up and she saw 3 dancing lights, and you can see this if you go onto videos, 3 dancing lights kind of like going around each other. Now she lives in Whitey. She knows what seagulls look like. She knows what birds look like. She knows the patterns that birds make. Usually birds are quite sweet. They kind of like, they glide slowly, and they kind of have that pattern. These lights were a bit different. They were dancing and they were playing in almost like a fairy-esque type formation. And they were actually, she said they were kind of like white and silver. I tried zooming in. I can't quite see the shape. They do look like orbs. They don't look like birds. We could be wrong. They might be seagulls. But something just didn't feel right about them being birds. And when you kind of like see this video and you look at videos, for instance, you guys might have seen the video of the crop circle being formed and the orbs of light dancing around and the crop circle being formed. It had that kind of dancing energy around it. So this is really interesting, because the question is, why are they releasing this now? Is it because lots of people, and this is kind of like how I'm making a segue between my videos and kind of like what's been best at the moment. Is it the fact that there is so much going on, and there are so many things that people are now seeing, capturing on mobile? Some of it might be AI, from Bob Season. Okay, it's got that potential in the moment. Some of it isn't. And it's maybe the 1% that isn't explaining what isn't AI, it's really interesting. Do you think, Neil and Ben, do you think that the Pentagon and Secret Services have come to a point where you can't hide this anymore? Like, it's going to get into the point where it's going to be silly to say this all kind of like conspiracy in tinfoil and nonsense. You've got to release it. Or even, would there be a bigger picture? Let's think bigger picture, where let's say we've got ETs interacting with the Earth, and they're basically saying, look, human race needs to know we're here. Either you release this stuff, or we're just going to show up. So you can either introduce people slowly, bit to bit, because of the reality, or we're just going to show up.
Yeah, I personally think it may be both of those, especially the first one. Yeah, it's interesting. The crop circle being formed, that was actually Carl the Whaley footage from 1994, which is extraordinary. If it came out today, I wouldn't give it a second look. But back in the 90s, it wasn't possible to create those kinds of visual effects as easily as you can now. But that's really there does seem to be strange timing here. It just seems to be. It's almost like something theatric is going on. And I'm pleased this video of yours has had such an impact. I really am. I mean, it's really, really great. Obviously, you struck a hot iron there, Andy. And I think we're going to see.
The weird thing is, the video that got the 1.5 million likes wasn't even actually, in my opinion, the best of the best. There are actually even better videos on there that as I say, the UFO one is really interesting. The white light anomalies, I mean, it's just absolutely mind-blowing, actually. Do you think Trump's motivation, because I think there's 2 possibilities here, Trump's motivation. Number one, it could be coming from an ego perspective. So one possibility could be he realizes he's not a spring chicken. He's getting older now. He's slowing down a little bit. There's possibly things to do with his mental health or his overall health. He's winding down. Let's face it, Trump is winding down. He's put as much power as he can in. He's winding down. So it could be an ego thing of I want to be the president to be remembered to release all the UFO stuff. So that's one possibility. A second possibility could be altruistic. Maybe there could be a side of him that maybe he thinks genuinely, because apparently he has either been to Area 51 or seen the Area 51 files. And when he was asked about by a journalist, he basically said it was quite interesting. He didn't deny it, he didn't say, oh, it's up and there, it's a load of rubbish. He just said it's interesting, it smiled. Could it be that actually he could be coming to the end of his presidency and thinking, do you know what? I want to do the best I can for the American people and the world and the people who have the right to know this, and screw the deep state and screw the dark suits wanting to suppress it. The people need to know it. So I'd love to think about that.
Well, I think it's, again, I think these two things are not, these motives are not mutually exclusive, and he's probably both. He is a man of enormous ego and self-importance, but at the same time, he's a caring man, he's a family man, and he's a patriotic man. So I expect it's both. But you're right, this could be the way he manages to regain control of his administration, because it's pretty obvious that the guy has felt the pressure. He has caved into a lot of the pressure that's been put on him, especially, I mean, after about 6 months after his inauguration, things went downhill with Trump really badly. And the only explanation I can think of, and I know a lot of people disagree with me, and they say, Ben, he was always a bad guy. No, he wasn't always. No, he's been compromised. They've got dirt on him. They're threatening him. Something about it is maybe they got one of his family held hostage, which is possible. He has a large family. And this is his way of getting back. And this is his way of, partly of retaliation, also like partly as a last card moment to destroy the deep state and their control over the country. So yeah, I think he is now almost 80 years old, and he's hit it showing. He's not quite Joe Biden level yet, but he's not the energetic, powerful figure that he was in his first term. When he was when he first inaugurated, he was 10 years younger. So I suspect that could be a lot of it. Obviously, a lot of this, the fact this has happened, this is just the first part. There's more coming. There could be there's a whole series of these tranches.
Yeah. And the quote, sorry, Ben, the quote was from the Pentagon, this isn't even the best of the batch. Like, you're right, they're releasing it in stages. And the first stages, you had that kind of like spiky eight pronged spiky star thing with the lights in. And they said even that wasn't the best of the best. And it makes you wonder what the hell else is going on. And also, this really puts the skeptics in a really, really difficult position. So historically, the skeptics have basically said, oh, that's just Billy Bob in his trailer park seeing a real black light in the sky, tinfoil hat, crazy conspiracy theories. And, you get all the newspapers, ha, ha, ha. And you get the, what was it, that governor of California coming out dressed as an alien, or he had an alien in handcuffs, and it was, little green men, isn't it funny? The skeptics have got a real problem, because this is not Billy Bob in his trailer. This is the president of the United States ordering the FBI and Kash Patel to order the Pentagon to release declassified military UFO files. Yeah. This is not Billy Bob in his trailer. So what are the skeptics going to do?
Well, you could see what they're doing. They're actually their reaction is interesting. Actually, there was an attempt to explain the anomaly as a parachute, a flare on a parachute. this was very quickly discredited. They're still clinging on to this desperately. Yeah. I think their bias and ideology is actually showing very, very badly now. And they are they can no longer pretend they're just rational people. That they have felt the pressure, and I mean, indeed, I think their explanations are going to get more and more ridiculous as time goes on. And the parachute thing is a nonsense. It's like the lighthouse thing for the RFI. And we're going to see more of these. But funnily enough, one of the biggest most famous of them, Neil deGrasse Tyson, appears to be playing. He's a bit calmer, and I think he sees the writing on the wall. And he's currently, I think, trying to rewrite his own history and rely on he's trying to rely on the short memory and the laziness of his audience not to fact check what he said before. But he's just written a book called "Take Me to Your Leader," and I must say I've not read the book, but the promotional material is extraordinary from a man like Tyson, he's like one of the biggest pop media scientists in the world. And he's the successor to Carl Sagan, basically. But he appears to be at least open-minded now to the idea of UFOs, and this is a scientific study of UFOs. And previously, he was like coming out with the old Mick West lines. He was being quite close-minded. I mean, he was a calm, professional man with much more, someone I respect much more than Cox, Professor. Cox will retire.
I think didn't Cox change his mind, and he basically went from they're not real to they possibly highly likely are real.
Cox, I think that can't be real. I think the guy will retire from public life rather than admit he was wrong and apologize. But that's probably an AI bot. But I could have misjudged him, but I doubt that. But we are going to see more of this because it's affecting both sides of this debate. And as you say, this is no longer dismissible when it's being discussed at such a high level. And the next tranche has been promised. It's the 46 videos that Anna Paulina Luna has been talking about are going to be in that. She's been desperately trying to get those declassified. She thinks they are very significant. Indeed. And we know how incredibly open-minded and passionate she is about this. Along with her and Burchett and Burleson, they're probably like the biggest Congress people who are behind this endeavor. So I can't wait to see the second one. It could come out as early. They said it could come out as early as a week later. Well, that's today. So, sorry, Neil. Do you want to say anything? Because
I was going to say, obviously, you guys have had more of a chance maybe to watch some of the footage. I've seen bits of it. I haven't read much of the documents, but I know that Mick West has tried to destroy the wind farm one by saying it's a balloon, although it seems to sort of weave in and out of the windmill things themselves, and it also does a sharp turn. Now, any balloon that I've seen kind of just drifts and stuff, and you'd also think with the sail of the winds generated by each of those props would have some sort of downdraft effect on this alleged balloon anyway.
Yes.
It comes through with some determination to go through there at some speed. And as the Angry Astronaut said, that these files have been on the military computers for some time. And if they can't sort of work out what they are, there's Mick West and I was just a balloon. And yet you probably had the best experts in the military look at that sort of thing. They would have written it off as a balloon years back. So the other stuff that is interesting, and I'm not sure of it, is supposedly the anomalies taken on the moon or reports from inside the Apollo spacecraft or Mercury spacecraft, seeing things outside there. I'm a bit more wary of that, because the thing is with these craft leaving Earth's orbit and moving into free space is that they're carrying particles of bits of metal with them as they separate from one craft to another. You've got the jettisoned parts of the rocket anyway, sometimes flying alongside them. So it's not to say that there probably are objects, but they might just be misidentified parts of the Apollo spacecraft. But the ones on the actual moon's surface, well, obviously we believe that they perhaps didn't really land on the moon.
I was going to say, Neil, this is a bit of a problem for us. What are we going to do? Because we've got Apollo detectives, so we've got real problems with, did they go to the moon? So either they went to the moon and the alien stuff is real, or they didn't go to the moon and the alien
I
stuff
suspect it's part of the set, or scratches on the negative or something like that.
But it may have been an actual sighting on the set itself, because it's quite likely that some of the this was an Apollo 17 when it would have to be a large outdoor set and it would have been done at night. It's possible there was actually a UFO present at the time in Nevada or wherever it was when this took place. That's what I think.
Another possibility could be, okay, we sent craft to the moon and they did take photos from the moon, but were they manned? So that's another possibility.
Yeah.
There may even have been from one of the secret space program bases on the moon.
There's lots of dust on these photos, though. In the Apollo, I've noticed this. You go through these pictures, and there's lots of dust, negative debris, and stuff like that, and it will show up more clearly against the blackness of the space set, if you like, or real space or whatever. These bits of dust and stuff. So, and the thing is, they're so inconclusive. They're like tiny lights or specks or things like that. The thing is, they've been in the public domain since 50 years plus. In fact, a lot of the stuff that I think Angry Astronaut mentioned, that much of the stuff that you're seeing in this release has actually been on the Black Vault website for years anyway, release freedom of information. So it's not as if they've been secretly guarding it, because it's been out there. I think they're just using this as an excuse to sort of say, oh yes, we're doing our job here, everybody, we're releasing this stuff. But the fact that you've had it, this is cold beans on toast, really. It's been there for years.
Alternatively, it could be a test to see how the public respond when it is brought out in this way and presented in the media the way it is. They don't want to dump the goodies on us too soon, because they want to just test our reaction first before they bring out possibly more interesting and more groundbreaking material.
Talking of groundbreaking, did you guys come across that this is now mainstream? It used to be a case that it was a crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, but Nazis were working on UFO technology and little men were coming out of craft, little 3-foot men. Well, I'm now seeing, I've never thought I'd see the day, I'm now seeing mainstream news like Daily Mail and all sorts, basically talking that some of these files are saying that yes, the Nazis were allegedly communicating with ET extraterrestrials. They were working on time-traveling interdimensional craft. How the Nazis were working on that, I don't know, with 1940s technology, but if you look at deblocker, the bell, that's quite neat to do. Why not? And these files do talk about craft landing and people seeing 3-foot and 4-foot high beings coming out of them. And this is military declassified files. And as you say, Ben and Neil, as you say, like, the military aren't stupid. When they're investigating these things, they will know the difference between a craft and an aeroplane. They will know the difference between a parachute and some kind of weird 8-star galactic being thing flying around. They're not stupid. And it's just absolutely mind-blowing. And what I would actually kind of bounce back to the skeptics. So when you get a skeptic that says, oh, it could just be a parachute, I would say to them, okay, reproduce it. Find some, go skydiving, find somebody who's a skydiver, take some night vision camera, strap it to a helmet, and reproduce that exact shape, exact formation as a parachute landing on the field. Do that, and we might believe it's a parachute. If you can't, shut up and sit down.
Yeah.
One of the problems with some of the footage is all the information that says the wind direction, the altitude, or wherever it may be, is all being blacked out. You're working half blind, aren't you, to kind of establish what you're seeing?
It's annoying, actually, and there's black boxes everywhere. It's like a damn plane crash museum. It's terrible. But the reason is because the way that this was released. Now, the Nimitz footage was released in a different way. It was actually leaked to several journalists. As a result, the telemetry on the head-up display is visible. Now, this is not what the DoD, the Department of War, ideally wants, because this could reveal classified information, but not about the subject matter, just about the capabilities of the aircraft, for example. And so what it's been doing is actually it has actually been redacting that information, which is what's annoying about it, is sometimes what you want to look at goes behind one of the black boxes. And so you can't actually see it properly for maybe a crucial part of its maneuvering or whatever. So it's a bad way of it's a shame they've felt the need to do that. I understand why they did it, but who knows? There may be some more material, somewhere out there which doesn't have those redactions. We'll have to wait and see.
I guess also another possibility from a military intelligence point of view, some of the information may give away locations. There's coordinates that they won't want to know about. So
yes,
fair enough.
Okay, we're wrapping up on this now, guys, because it's only a short broadcast. But one of the things I think that we probably won't get in future releases is any photographs or film of any of these alleged craft, images, UFOs, UAPs, whatever they may be, landing. Now, from reports I've read in books, they filmed on airfields and things, these craft landing from time to time on 16mm film. They've got it. And I don't think we're likely to see that, because the thing is, if you're finding these craft absolutely landing, then you're kind of admitting that, yes, these craft do have the ability to land. They're not just anomalous blobs in the sky or whatever. They're landing with intent, and they're landing without permission, which is going to be a bit unnerving to people. They don't really want to release that sort of stuff. Any final thoughts before we wrap up on this one?
I have the complete opposite view, Neil. I think it is going to come out. I think it's going to be drip, drip, drip. Certainly not going to be now.
Yeah.
Drip, drip, drip. I think eventually they're going to have to release it, including actual aliens. I really do think eventually they're going to have to.
Okay, Ben, what's your viewpoint before we shut this up?
Just I hope Andy's right. I mean, whether this is a real push for genuine disclosure or it's some kind of something else is going on. I hope the former. Obviously, I think the former is inevitable eventually. And in my book, Ross and Rising, A Novel of Disclosure, available at all good bookshops right now. I discuss that in more detail.
Okay, and where can people find this information if they want to go to download this video information and all the documents? What's the website for the military that they can go to?
www.war.gov/UFOs.
Okay.
UFO,
Yeah, so just quickly, I'd like to plug the UFO Academy in Watford, High Elms, run by a fantastic family. Katrine and John and family, absolutely amazing, beautiful setting. I think this year it's going to be absolutely ram-packed because the whole UFO phenomenon, the files being released, have created such a stir in the community. And you know what? There's a little bit of criticism that some people have with things like UFO conferences and UFO kind of meetings and gatherings, is that it's always the same old cases. And I can kind of understand that, because from the speaker's perspective, there's only so much data out there, and there's only so many cases that they've got enough data to create a presentation. Rendlesham Forest, Boswell, all of that is kind of like the same cases. And each year it's difficult. It's difficult for speakers to create new material out of old cases unless new things come to light. But this year, now that we've got an absolute avalanche of new files and material coming out, I think the speakers are going to do really well. I think it's going to be incredibly well attended. Wonderful atmosphere, beautiful setting. So UFO Academy, you can find it on Facebook, Instagram, and their website. Do have a look at that. And if anyone does see me, come and say hello.
Cool. And where is this in Watford, in High Elms Manor still?
Yeah, High Elms Manor in Watford. You'd think kind of Watford, concrete jungle, it's going to be like a horrendous kind of like council estate. It's not. It's a beautiful setting. It's just outside Watford in the posh area.
Okay, and when's that taking place, Andy?
That is on. I'm going to have to quickly look this up. I believe it's July time. Let's have a we'll have to cut a bit out. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the UFO Academy is going to be on Saturday the 25th and Sunday the 26th of July. It's called Awake and Aware. I think it's Kerry Caspi from Project Camelot. He's actually running it. So Saturday 25th, Sunday 26th of July. And people can find that at UFO Academy. Well, get to this early.
Excellent. So stay tuned for that, everybody. If you're interested, if you're in the Hertfordshire, Buckinghamshire, the home counties area, or London, or even further afield in the UK, you're very welcome to attend the UFO Academy. I've certainly been there in the past. Andy's been there and Ben's been there, and we can all vouch that it's a great day or weekend if you intend for the whole weekend to attend for that. So stay peeled for the skies and stay peeled to the Department of War. I don't like that phrase, but there we go. For any more of these UFO downloads, and maybe one day we might get some release from the UK government. Who knows? But I doubt that very much. They're very tight-lipped on that kind of stuff here. But anyway, final words, Andy, before we go.
Yeah, do you know what's sad? Do you know what's really sad, Neil? Nick Pope, bless him,
Yes,
has passed away just before this.
yes, he would have been a guy that they would have all rung up straight away. He would have been on their dial-up, and he would have been asking his opinions, certainly on that one.
He might be quite frustrated in spirit, or maybe he passed over to assist it in some way. Who knows?
Yes, he's perhaps looking in from the other side. Yeah, blessings to Nick Pope. So thanks very much indeed for watching this emergency Cobra meeting of the Paranormal Peep Show. Stay tuned for the rest of our shows that come up once a month, and we'll certainly try and keep you updated as we get more information that comes through. Thanks for watching, and it's good night from Andy and myself. That's Neil Ward and Andy Chaplin, and also Ben.
Good night.